hope that intro didn't creep you out too much, since we are here to talk about haunted dolls. Now, this is a niche on eBay, and you can jump into it for yourself if you're interested. They sell usually between $50 to $75, but some go for $100, $250, $600, $800, $1,000, and even more. So there is an active market here. Now, you might be saying, Eric, I'm fresh out of haunted dolls. How am I supposed to do this? Well, hold on to your Ouija board, because I'm going to point you toward a path on how you can make your very own. So let's jump into it. We're not talking about haunted dolls in the vein of a Chucky doll that is walking around and trying to hunt you down and kill you. Instead, a haunted doll is simply a vessel that holds a spirit, and when it's in the doll, then you can interact with it from there. And how you interact with it depends on the type of spirit that you might have. Some are benevolent and nice, like Mike here. The seller describes him as positive and playful, but he does like to play tricks, but nothing dangerous, just hiding things or buzzing in your ears. The seller also states that he died from choking. But many of the dolls are described as demonic or evil, stating that they possess things and they whispering from all angles and dangerous, and be warned, not for the novice spirit doll collector. So I don't feel like those are things that people would want to have in their house, but obviously they do. But allegedly it goes even deeper than that, with these dolls being able to satisfy your desires, apparently. So let's take a look at Alani, who is a succubus. The seller says that with Alani, you'll be transported to a dream realm crafted solely for your pleasure, where inhibitions fall away and all that remains is pure, unfiltered passion. That's quite a lot now, isn't it? Now, I know that many of you were thinking, or most of you perhaps are thinking, this is bull. This is all a giant scam. And, I can't fault you for that. But here we are. And you'd think if that's the case, that the reviews for these sellers would just be blown up with negatives. But that's not what I found. I mean, I'm not going to call the seller out, but this one seller in particular has 155 ratings, and only 2 are negative. 1 is neutral, but the rest are positive. The comments are things like, she is absolutely magical with the knowledge she possesses. Her spirits are the real deal. I bought dolls from her before, and they are always active. I've bought from this seller many times. The spirits are absolutely amazing. These are people that are happy with their spirit doll purchase, which I wasn't necessarily expecting. And I looked at other sellers as well that deal primarily in haunted items, and universally the reviews are overwhelmingly positive, with the negative ones mostly being made up of very mundane items like got lost in shipping or doll arrived broken, something along those lines. eBay, on the other hand, is a little more circumspect, because you're required to put in your listing, when you're listing a haunted doll, that it is for entertainment purposes only. Any paranormal activity that is being stated is just that, entertainment, and all you are buying is a doll. There is nothing abstract that you are getting for the purchase price of this doll. So that's eBay's approach. Now, the sellers, of course, don't necessarily like this, but the way they get around it is they state that they are being forced by eBay. They have to do it, because obviously if they didn't have to do it, they wouldn't, because their dolls are the real deal and they are legit. Now, this begs the question, how do you get in on this? Because this is clearly an active market with people willing to spend good money to buy these dolls. The first thing you need, of course, is a doll. So I went down and bought a doll right here for $5. I decided that she looked a little creepy, and so I picked her up and brought her home. Now, what was surprising to me was I hadn't talked to my kids about haunted dolls at all, but when I brought her in, she's like, Dad, that's creepy. What's going on? Why are you buying a creepy doll? I'm like, she's creepy? Like, yeah. I mean, I thought she was a little creepy, but they were really over the top with it. And when they picked her up and started examining her, they're like, she's really abnormally cold. What's going on here? So they were a little creeped out by it. So the question is, did I accidentally buy a haunted doll? And how do you tell? Well, one of the ways you can tell is with an EMF meter. An EMF meter. This detects the electromagnetic frequency coming off of objects. Now, in addition to technology giving this off, according to paranormal experts, something that is haunted will also give off electromagnetic frequency, and it'll light this up. It'll go from green to red. So if I take my doll here and we've got green and I apply it to the doll, what do we get? Oh my. well, I guess I got to be careful to take my iPhone off the back of the doll. And when we do that, we get straight green. So not much going on. It's flickering a little bit because of the electronics in the room. So how do you haunt the doll if you've got a bunch of unhaunted ones on your hand? Well, one way to do it is to take them to haunted places. And I have a business acquaintance who works in IT for a law firm, but he moonlights, side gig, as a ghost hunter. He takes tours of people to abandoned prisons and sanatoriums and other places to visit ghostly spots and see ghost activity. So I called him up and I said, hey, I think you're missing out on a market niche here. You are uniquely positioned with these haunted dolls. And he says, I've already done that, Eric. I'm like, you do? How do you get them haunted? He says, well, I just take them with me when we go on the tours, and I put them in a strategic location, and I hope that something spirit-like will attach to the dolls. And of course, I'm like, oh, wow, this is pretty interesting. I said, does it work? And he says, well, when I test them with my equipment, and he's got better equipment than what I have, he says the readings are off the charts, so much so that I do not keep them in the house. So the professional ghost hunter is creeped out by what he can create. Of course, he does sell them, but not everybody has a ghost tour group handy to them. So what do you do if you don't have that? Well, fear not. You simply head over to Amazon, where there are a number of books talking about spirit summoning, ghost keeping, and related topics. And I think a good one to start off with might be this one, Spirit Keeping and Spirit Vessels. Seems like a really good starting point to me, because it says this booklet is going to discuss the ins and outs of spirit keeping, spirit vessels, bonding spirits to objects, and how to use that $400 Demon King you bought off of eBay. That seems directly on point to me. And if we go into the comments on this, it's interesting because somebody says this book is sure to piss off charlatans, because they say, appreciated that the authors were blunt about this practice, meaning haunting dolls. Someone has to be. If your crafts on Etsy won't sell without you having to lie about having shoved a demon inside them, you're a terrible crafter. Thousands of pagan and satanic crafters sell their wares every day without having to stoop to such tactics. So if you read this book and implement what it teaches you, you will be above board when it comes to creating haunted dolls. Now, you might also want to check out Spirit Keeping, a guide for the spirit keeper by Magnolia and Ash West. You might also, if you like the succubi sexual fantasy thing, you might want to check out Summoning Succubi by Frater Azrael. He reinforces that succubi visit you in your dream state, and very, very rarely is one going to come to you physically. So maybe that puts a damper on somebody's fun, because it's got to be in the dream. Now, having a haunted doll is great, but you've got to sell it. So you have to have some intriguing copy in your listings. If we go back to our succubus seller, this is where they really knock it out of the park when it comes to painting a picture of what you're going to get. The most captivating being you can imagine stands before you ready. She's designed to indulge your deepest fantasies. She will be your secret dream companion. Your succubi is irresistible in every form she takes. And the seller goes on to state that she needs to get sexual activity periodically or she will starve, and that she needs certain physical things from men periodically as well to be satisfied. And we'll just leave it at that. After that, then you need to price your doll. And I have no idea how to price these. It looks like the succubis tend to go for a little bit more, and maybe if your doll is actually vintage, you can get more for that as well. But overall, this is an intriguing and interesting niche on eBay that looks like it's thriving, and you can jump into it as well. So maybe you need to dig into your attic and what you got hanging around your house and see if maybe you've got a haunted doll somewhere in there, or roll up your sleeves and break out some candles and incense and get to work. Until next time, happy thrifting.